For years, Kodak Black and Johnny Dang had one of the most loyal partnerships in hip-hop jewelry. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Right? Yeah.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Man. Yeah, appreciate you all the time, my way.
Appreciate you all the time, my way. Then a wave of fake diamond accusations swept music through the Houston jewelry world, and the people closest to Johnny Dang's operation started talking. Bro, I don't give a underscore about Johnny. Johnny can kiss my this is what actually happened when Kodak Black and the King of Bling got pulled music into hip-hop's biggest jewelry scandal. The arrest Kodak and what was actually going on. In early 2026, Johnny Dang got arrested. The King of Bling, the Houston jeweler who had spent 2 decades icing out every major name in rap, was being accused of selling fake jewelry to the same artists whose names built his music reputation. Chains, grills, pieces that rappers had worn in videos. Flex on Instagram, name-dropped music in lyrics. All of it now under question, and Kodak Black, one of Johnny's most loyal, most consistent clients, had something to say about it. Kodak and Johnny go back not just a few years deep. He has flown private to Houston just to get permanent grills installed. He commissioned the world's first diamond-encrusted COVID mask, a piece valued at over $30,000 straight music, out of Johnny's shop right after getting released from jail during the pandemic. He has been iced out during Super Bowl weekend, during birthday sessions, during private studio visits. He has driven to Dang's shop, flown in for Dang's shop, and publicly called him the King of Bling in interviews. This is a man who has spent years trusting Johnny Dang with his money, his teeth, and his image. Music. So, when the arrest story broke and Kodak's name started circulating alongside it, the expectation music was fireworks. A man who trusted his jeweler for years now finding out what he actually music paid for. The reaction was supposed to be devastating. Here is what that reaction actually looked like. And man, you got me and Johnny, back to back with it. That is Kodak Black and Johnny Dang's shop, picking up a new set of Skittles grills. Not music, a warning, not a confrontation. A fitting. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Skittle. Yeah, we lit. Music, Skittle grill. SG Skittle grill got them candy. Candy. Multicolor custom candy-themed grills commissioned from a man who had allegedly just been arrested for selling him fake chains. Music. Kodak is not pulling his business. He is not confronting Johnny. He is standing in the shop picking up a new set music and describing the color palette. And when the visit wrapped, yes, sir. Yes, sir. Good man. Yeah. Appreciate you all the time, my way. Long time, my man. That is Kodak Black's reaction, not a warning. Music, not a confrontation. A thank you delivered the way you thank someone you have known for years and planned to keep music knowing. The devastating reaction never came, at least not from Kodak. Now, the arrest itself, it was never confirmed. No DOJ filing, no Houston PD statement. Music, no verified charges anywhere. What did exist, and what started all of this, was something more specific, music, and more damaging than a police report. It was an allegation, a serious one, from people who had been inside the operation. Former employees going on camera, a 20-year associate going on record. Music, all of them pointing at the same thing, that Johnny Dang had been selling lab-grown diamonds, synthetic stones music, worth a fraction of the price of natural ones, misrepresented to clients as a real thing. Rappers paying VVS prices for CVD stones. Music. People handing over 5 figures, 6 figures, for pieces they believe were rare, natural, certified diamonds, and getting something manufactured in a lab at a fraction of the cost instead. The person who blew it open was not Kodak Black. But to understand why this allegation mattered as much as it did, why it hit different from the usual hip-hop beef. Music. You first have to understand exactly what Johnny Dang built, and what his name came to mean inside the industry before music, any of this started, who Johnny Dang is, and why this accusation, music, hits different. Johnny Dang was born Giang and Thuan in 1973 in Dak Lak Province, Vietnam. He grew up learning jewelry, making from his father. No electricity, no modern tools, just hands and craft in rural South Vietnam. His grandfather was also in the jewelry trade. The skill ran in the family, passed down across generations in a country that was still recovering from decades of war. When his father escaped Vietnam by boat after the conflict and eventually made his way to Houston, the family was split for years. Johnny arrived to reunite with him in 1996. Age 23, music, with limited English, limited money, and almost nothing else. Day 2 in America, he was already at a flea market bench doing repairs, earning around $35 a day. He hustled multiple jobs at once, sometimes living out of cramped shared housing, sometimes out his car, sending money back when he could, and stacking what little he kept. By 1998, he had saved enough to open TV jewelry in Sharpstown Mall. By the early 2000s, he had partnered with Houston rapper Paul Wall. Wall brought the rap connections and the street promotion. Dang brought the craft and the production, and the machine started turning. He describes a journey in his own words in GQ. When I came here, music, I went to work in flea market as a jewelry repair. After flea market, I opened in garage like a small kind of workshop. Repairs at a flea market, a garage workshop, music, then a mall storefront. The path was not glamorous and it was not fast, but every step was deliberate. The pivot into the grill. Game came through a very specific door. Working alongside dentists, watching what their clients actually wanted, and spotting a gap nobody had filled. So, they need to go to dentists to get the music, gold, and the customer requests them to put diamond for the grill. So, I thought to myself, okay, I can do the gold and the diamond together too. That was the insight. Dentists were doing the fittings, doing the impressions, applying the gold. But when clients wanted diamond set into that gold, there was nobody in the room who could do it. Dang saw the gap and stepped into it. Gold, music, and diamonds together in one custom fit, non-invasive, removable, precision cut to the individual tooth. It sounds obvious now because he made it the standard. Every grill artist operating at the high end of the market today is working in the world he built. The move that launched him from Houston's jewelry scene into global hip-hop culture music was Nelly's 2005 hit Grills. And the origin story of that song Music is its own minor scandal. Nelly had been sold a fake Johnny Dang grill by a copycat, a knockoff passed off as a real thing. When he found out through Paul Wall and T.I., on tour he went to the source and got an authentic set. Nelly thanked Paul Wall by putting him on the record. The record, Music, topped the Billboard Hot 100. Johnny appeared in the music video, sitting there handing over trays of pieces. The name Johnny Dang went from Houston underground to global household in the space of a single song cycle. After that, Music. The clientele list read like a museum inventory of the last 2 decades of rap and celebrity culture. Beyonce, Jay-Z, Travis Scott, who calls in birthday orders and gets a finished set in 2 days. Just Travis Scott last week. I said, Johnny, I need a grill for my birthday. Boom, 2 days later, I got a brand new set for him. The reason he could move that fast is structural, not music, just skill, but infrastructure. Most jewelers in the market are middlemen. They design something, outsource the casting, outsource music. The setting, wait on delivery, mark up the price, and pass it on. Dang built his own manufacturing operation from the ground up, his own casting floor, his own setters, his own production timeline. No outside vendor waiting to bottleneck the order. In 2016, he and Paul Wall formalized that infrastructure by opening the world's largest custom grills and jewelry store at 6224 Richmond Avenue in Houston. 14,000 square feet, in-house manufacturing, a showroom, a vault, a building that announced, this is no longer a side hustle. By the time the allegations hit in 2026, the name Johnny Dang had become something more than a jeweler's name. Music, it was certification. In hip-hop, when you say, I got this from Johnny Dang, you're not just naming a vendor, you are vouching for the piece. You are saying, this is real, this is authenticated. This is the real version of what you see on camera. That certification was a product as much as the diamonds themselves. And if the diamonds were not what they were supposed to be, the certification was worthless, worse than worthless. It was a lie delivered with a handshake. Came from Vietnam, music. And to be a king of bling, that's called American Dream. Dream framing is central to who he is. Publicly, the immigrant who arrived with $35 a day flea market money and built a multi-million-dollar empire piece by piece. That framing is also what made the accusations that followed hit at something music much deeper than a business dispute. Because the accusation was not just that he sold music bad product. It was that the identity he had constructed, the credibility, the certifications, the handshake guarantee, had been used as cover for something else entirely. The real accusation, the ex-employee and Sauce Walker. The first serious cracks in the public narrative came not from a rival jeweler, not from a rapper, not from a federal indictment, but from inside the shop itself. An ex-employee went on camera and dismantled the operation piece by piece. Music. He was not an outside observer making guesses. He was someone who had worked the floor, flown out on behalf of the operation, handled clients, managed transactions, and watched the production process from inside. His primary complaint when the video opened was financial, describing the economics of what it meant to be a worker inside a multi-million-dollar operation while getting paid $10 an hour. He flew out twice a week. Let's talk about how many times I done flew out for this dude and done picked up hundreds and thousands of dollars. May I remind y'all, away from his daughters, away from home, picking up enormous sums of cash on behalf of the business, then returned to a paycheck that did music, not reflect what he was moving. He described claiming to have generated $9 in revenue for the shop in a year, asking for a 4% commission increase, and being offered a $2 hourly raise instead. He described the scale of the gap in terms that were hard to argue with. I got 2 daughters. You know what I'm saying? I went and picked you up $100,000. I have $2, man. I'm like, I got $2, right? $100,000 collected, $2 in pocket. Music, 2 daughters at home. The pay grievance alone would have been enough to make the video circulate. But what came midway through was the allegation that changed the music entire dimension of a story. He turned to the audience and told them directly to check their pieces. Music. Hey bro, you sitting at your $1 million mansion, chilling and drinking your cognac. Like everybody who's watching, if you got anything from Johnny, go check your pieces. Music. Not a vague warning, a specific instruction. And then he said what he claimed they would find. 'Cause music, that boy be putting that CBD in y'all. And I've had several clients who come in and they'll be like, bro, why am I get tested CBD? CVD, chemical vapor deposition, is the process used to grow synthetic diamonds in a laboratory. The stones are visually and chemically identical to natural diamonds. A layperson looking at a CVD stone next music to a natural stone cannot tell the difference by eye. The difference shows up on a diamond tester, a device that detects the thermal conductivity pattern specific to how a stone music was formed. And he was saying clients were coming back with pieces that failed that test, multiple clients repeatedly music, coming back to the shop asking why, and being sent back to Johnny for answers. He described having to personally music chase those clients down and manage the fallout. Every single person who works for you struggles, bro. Every single person who works for you is not making no money, bro. Like, feed your people before you. Start putting all that profit in your pocket, bro. This is the shape of the allegation. A top-line operation generating music enormous revenue, staffed by workers kept financially constrained enough to stay dependent, producing pieces that some clients were discovering were not what they paid for, music. And his conclusion, the line that spread faster than any other part of the video, stripped all the specifics away and reduced it music to a single character judgment. I can't do that __ bro. I can't work for a fake person, bro. That __ don't that _ just not in me to work for fake people or a fake company or unloyal people who don't give out nobody, bro. Like a fake person from inside the shop, that phrase music hit differently than anything a competitor could have said from a distance. It was a vocabulary of someone who had been close enough to see through the image. Then came Sauce Walker, a Houston rapper music, with a documented 20-year relationship with Dang. Not a client from across the country, not a competitor from another city, but a local a brother in his own telling. Someone who had bought from Dang for 2 decades and called it brotherhood. He went on record making the same core allegation that lab-grown CVD diamonds had been sold to him at natural diamond prices without disclosure. That preferential treatment was shown to celebrity clients, while Day One Music, local clientele, got a different standard. That the entire operation, the name, the guarantee, the handshake certification, had been used as a mechanism to overcharge people music who trusted it. The distinction between natural and lab-grown diamonds is not a cosmetic one. Lab-grown diamonds are chemically and visually identical to natural ones under normal inspection, but their market value music is a fraction of the price. A 5-carat natural VVS1 round diamond can cost hundreds of thousands of dollars. A 5-carat CVD stone with equivalent visible clarity might cost a few thousand. If you are selling the CVD stone while representing it as a natural one, invoicing at natural diamond prices, using natural diamond language, presenting it as the same product, that is not a gray area. Music, that is fraud. That was the accusation. And it was coming from 2 directions at once. Someone who had been inside the production music process, and someone who had been a client for 20 years. The clips everyone misread, and the ones that tell the real story. With the ex-employee's video circulating, Sauce Walka's name attached to the allegations' music, and the whole story building momentum, the content machine needed a flagship rapper to put at the center. Kodak Black's name, music, and one old clip that had nothing to do with any of this became the vehicle. There was a 2024 video of Kodak where he complained about a $50,000 custom music grill set he had received from Dang. The pieces were designed for visual impact, the kind of fully iced heavyweight aesthetic that looks extraordinary music in a music video or a photo shoot where the camera is close and the light is hitting right. But Kodak was wearing them day to day, and they were too music, bulky for that, too big for his mouth in. A practical sense. He took them out on camera. He said he was going to go back. Music, wild. He did not call the diamonds fake. He did not accuse Johnny of fraud. Music. The complaint was entirely about fit and design, a production criticism, not an authenticity allegation. Music. That clip got pulled from 2024, stripped of all context, placed music alongside the Sauce Walka accusations and the ex-employee footage and repackaged under titles describing music, a terrifying warning, and a brutal attack on Johnny Dang. None of those words were in the clip music. Because here's what Drake said around the same period, when Johnny Dang flew to him personally to hand-deliver a fresh grill and the language music. He used to describe what was inside it, that Real Houston love. Johnny been in the sky for too many years and flew all the way here to music. Drop me off a grill. That's the welcome to Houston gift. Johnny Dang flew to Drake's location, hand delivery, personal service, and a description of what was in the box matters because it speaks directly to the 2-tier allegation at the heart of the story. Real grill. This all real. No many copycats now, man. You know what I'm saying? So he come out with real VVS flawless diamonds. When he come, he cap now. When a client of that caliber arrives, Drake, Kodak, music, Travis Scott, the names that carry the most weight, the standard goes up. Real. Music, stones, certified flawless. That is what the top tier receives, and that is entirely consistent with what Sauce Walka was alleging. Not that the biggest names got fake stones, but that everyone below that tier did. The preferential system, if it existed, would look exactly like this. Music. Drake gets flawless naturals hand-delivered. Someone 2 rungs below that on the client list gets a CVD music stone at the same price point. Meanwhile, through all of this, while the Kodak reacts to arrest music, content was circulating and the terrifying warning titles were pulling clicks. This is what the actual Kodak and Johnny Dang dynamic looked like in practice. Music. Not in a 2024 clip about a grill that was too big. In a more recent interaction that showed music. Exactly the kind of relationship these two actually had. Kodak finding out something basic about his jeweler that he apparently never knew. Since you're American, so what's your deal? You 99? You Vietnam? Genuinely asking. Not hostile. Not suspicious. Curious. The way you get curious about someone you've been around for years but never sat down with long enough to ask the basic questions. Vietnam, yeah. Vietnamese? Original, baby. So that ain't Korea? No, that's different from all that. Different. Chinese, Vietnamese, yeah. That is the texture of a real long-running relationship. Two people who have been in business together long enough to still be filling in the blanks about each other. There is no tension in that room. No grievance being processed. Just two people talking the way people talk when they have been around each other for years and are not music, performing anything for anyone. The terrifying warning narrative required a different version of Kodak Black, one who was furious, betrayed, ready to act. The actual footage across multiple clips showed someone who kept showing up to the same music shop, kept commissioning new pieces, and kept leaving with the same sign-off, "Long time, my man." Johnny Dang's response, the deepfake layer, music, and what is actually at stake. When the accusations broke from the ex-employee, from Sauce Walker, from the wave of content that followed, Johnny Dang Music did not go quiet. He posted videos defending his work, calling out street jewelers and Chinese manufacturers. He accused of flooding the market with copies of his design's music and passing them off as authentic Dang pieces. He offered public diamond tests. He pointed to GIA certified inventory and made clear that his operation used certified stones. He positioned music himself as the one being victimized by copycats, by competitors, by people who resented what he had built. Music. In one response, the situation escalated to the point where coverage described it getting genuinely ugly, not the measured rebuttal of a businessman, but the raw pushback of someone who felt the floor shifting underneath him. But underneath the public counteroffensive, something else was happening that made the entire situation significantly harder to navigate for the audience. Music, trying to follow it, and for Dang himself trying to contain it. A Houston outlet reported in April 2026 Music that Dang was actively battling a wave of viral AI deepfake videos, fabricated content music, that falsely portrayed him making admissions, getting arrested on camera, or confessing in his own voice to selling lab-grown stones as natural. These were music, not real. None of them were statements Dang actually made, but they circulated with the same music velocity as the genuine allegations, landed in the same feeds, and were visually indistinguishable from a real video to anyone scrolling quickly. Yahoo and Fox 26 Houston both covered the deepfake situation, framing it as a second front that Dang was fighting simultaneously, a manufactured crisis running alongside the real one. Music. This is what made the ex-employee video carry weight that the deepfakes never could. A fabricated video has no anchor in lived experience. The ex-employee had a name, a face, music, a job history, a specific wage figure, a specific ask that was denied, a specific music number, $9 million, that he said he generated in a year. He had daughters. He had flights. He had the inside of a production process. None of that can be manufactured in post. And his final word on why he left, stripped of everything else, was one sentence: no loyalty. And that's really the reason why I left, because there was no loyalty in it and none of this __ that he was saying. That single word, loyalty, is a through line of every accusation in this story. Music. Not just allegation that clients were sold the wrong stone, but the allegation that the people who built the operation from the floor up, who flew out twice a week, who chased down unhappy clients, who made the pieces and managed production, were left with nothing proportionate to what they contributed, while the name above the door collected everything. The ex-employee's grievance and Sauce Walker's grievance are structurally music. The same. I gave you years. I gave you money. I gave you trust. And the product I received in return was not what I was told it was. Against all of that, here is what Johnny Dang's operation actually looks like on camera in GQ, in his own shop, walking through his own inventory. The craftsmanship is real. The innovation is documented. The scale is not in question. This is one of diamond belt buckles, see? King of bling. So everything I sell, this is like $20,000 belt buckle. Custom $20,000 for a belt buckle. That price exists, music, because of what the name guarantees, not just the weight of the gold, not just the count of the stones, but the promise that what you're paying for is what you, music, are receiving. At that price point, the guarantee is the product. Take the guarantee away. Prove it was being selectively applied. Prove that some clients were getting CVD while paying VVS prices. music, and an entire pricing structure of every piece he has ever sold becomes retroactively questionable. One of my shirt, of course, to get the name King of Bling. To start is really from the bottom. That is the part of the story that is unambiguously true and unambiguously documented. The flea market, the garage, the mall, the dentist connection, Paul Wall, Nellie's Grills, 2 decades of building a name that rappers would trust with their image and their money. All of it real, all of it earned, and none of it incompatible with the allegation, because people who build things from the bottom sometimes compromise on the way up. The question the ex-employee and Sauce Walker put on the table is whether that happened here, in this shop, at this scale, with these specific clients. The arrest was never confirmed. Kodak Black did not issue Music a warning. The Sauce Walker and ex-employee allegations remain unverified by any independent third party as of mid-April 2026. Music, no published lab reports, no legal filings, no client exodus. Johnny, Music, Dang's core celebrity clientele, publicly at least, kept showing up. But the question of what was actually in those pieces, and whether the standard being applied to Beyonce and Drake and Travis Scott was the same standard being applied in Music to everyone else, that question had been asked by named people with direct access, on camera, with specifics. Music. And that kind of question, once it has been asked that clearly, does not disappear. It waits for an answer.